I spoken about Mr. Robot in the past. I recently finished watching season 3. I know the show is on season 4 or season 5, but I watched it on Amazon Prime, which gets like the seasons like an episode late, a season later. So they might be showing season 5 already, and season 4 is out there. But on Amazon Prime, only season 3 is available, 1, 2, and 3. So you can stream it for free on Amazon Prime if you're interested. And plus I waited a minute before like watching it. The last time I watched it, season 2, I finished season 2 and I was watching season 2 while I was getting engaged in Dominican Republic. I was watching it around that time, so December of 2014. And I just got back to it this year and watched season 3, and it was really, really good. I recommend it. It's set in a not too distant future where they draw parallels to what's actually going on in current time. Like Donald Trump is president, or about to be, at least in season 3. And they're like flirting with that idea. And it's about like a big, huge company called E Corp being like one of the biggest companies in the world, think like a Google or an Apple or something like that. You have a group like Anonymous, like a hacker group like Anonymous called F Society, and you have other groups like them, and it's like heavy on like hacking and these kind of like clandestine digital operations and plans to overthrow big corporations and corporate greed and stuff like that. And you get to know characters from both sides, whether it's on like the hacking side or like the corporate ladder side of things. You have great actors in it. Bobby Cannavale was in season 3, which he had a really cool character. He is, look him up, he's been on Boardwalk Empire. He played Chip Rossetti, and he's been in other things also, but he played a pretty dope role in Mr. Robot. The main character, Ramli Malik, is the guy that recently did that Queen movie. Bohemian Rhapsody is the Queen biopic. He played Freddie Mercury. So he's a dope actor as well. There is an underground like hacking group called the Dark Army, and they're kind of like the shadow government of the world type of thing in this show, in this world created by Sam Esmail. And the head of it is played by B.D. Wong, which was, if you guys remember the show Oz on HBO, he was the Asian guy that played the priest in Oz. So it's interesting to see him. He's a dope actor also. I liked him in Oz. And I hadn't seen him in, I don't think, anything since. I'm sure he's been in stuff, but I just haven't seen him. And he actually plays this, like, I don't know what the proper terminology would be. It's not a trans man or woman. He's a man. And I guess he'd be like just like a cross-dresser, but he's like a cross-dresser with like a split personality type of thing. And he is the head of the the Dark Army. He dresses as a woman, and the woman is supposedly his sister, I think he says it is. And you see him going back and forth between, being in a very corporate setting in a suit, dressed like a man, and doing things, and then running things on the Dark Army side, both as himself, but then, in a different scene, he'll be dressed as a woman. Like he has a wig on and a dress, and full-fledged woman, changes his voice, and it's kind of like a split personality type of thing. It's interesting. Weird, but interesting. And that's his character. And there's a really cool scene where he is speaking to his like number one, like right-hand man type of guy. He's in like this like rooftop elaborate, penthouse mansion type of place. And he tells him to let the guy in, and the guy that he lets in is like some PR guy, like the a public relations person in the United States that deals with very high-end clients, and he tells him, and by he I mean BD Wong, the head of the Dark Army, he tells him that he wants him to back a certain politician for president. He wants him to put a positive spin on him and get him elected, basically. That's how much like influence this like Dark Army has. And the PR guy is like, who? Yeah, sure. You know, we've gotten presidents elected before. Who do you want elected? And he looks at the TV, and Donald Trump is on TV, and this is before he got elected for real. And he is, you know, on the political campaign, basically, campaign trail. And the guy looks at him, the PR guy, and he's like, I know the country is desperate, but you can't be serious. He's a complete buffoon. And, you know, he's saying that the country is desperate. I'm like kind of jumping all over the place here. But he says the company is desperate because there was just like this huge hack on this company, E Corp, and it caused like an economic crisis because they were like such a huge company. It's like the bank's failing or something like that, you know. And he was like, I know the country is desperate, but this guy's a buffoon. You know, they're not going to elect him. And then the leader of the Dark Army tells him, he turns to him and he says this like dope line of, if you pull the right strings, a puppet will dance any way you want. I just thought that was cool. It was kind of like kind of foreshadowing what many people like say or think, that Donald Trump is really like a puppet for like the Russians, if you're into like conspiracy theories, but more so of a puppet for corporate interests and stuff like that, and monetary gain and shit. That was just like an interesting way to weave in reality with the story, which is pretty cool. Which is something that I try to do and play with in my first novel, which is I spoke about a bit more thoroughly, at least from like a technical standpoint, like a writing standpoint. But from, just to share with you guys a bit here on the Random Rant episode, it's a story about like time travel and certain people having the ability to do so and going back and righting wrongs and stuff like that. But I try to weave in like real things that have happened historically, and just attribute it to things that a certain team did in the novel. A certain team of like time travelers, if you will, did in the novel. Stay tuned to the novel, working title Fractal, coming soon, tentatively in Q1 2019. But that was a pretty dope scene. What else? In season 3, you have a bunch more flashback scenes that reveal like different angles and perspectives, like sprinkled throughout the entire season, that you didn't see before. And it's like flashbacks that revisit scenes that you've seen either in season 2 or earlier in season 3 or maybe even season 1, and you see like something that you know that happened, but you see it from somebody else's perspective, which is pretty cool. Gives you like more of a holistic kind of like view of what's going on. What else? There was a sick scene. This guy, Tyrell Wellick, which is one of like the corporate guys involved, and he winds up like going to the other side and being like on the hacking side and wanting to bring down that company that he worked for, that he was like climbing the corporate ladder of. He has a wife and kid, and they have like this weird sexually dysfunctional type of relationship where, you know, like they use sex to like get ahead, even if it's like him sleeping with another woman and like the wife knows about it, or the wife is sleeping with another man, and to like set up these guys and, you know, like corporate office politics type bullshit and stuff like that. Pretty much they're like estranged from each other. They're like separated but not really. And then the wife has like this bartender boyfriend guy that she's like using to like pin a murder on him that would otherwise be pinned on her husband that she's quote unquote estranged from. And like that relationship goes bad, they split up or whatever. and the wife has like this driver guy that's like her bodyguard as well, and he notices their car being tailed. Like the wife is in the back seat with the infant baby, and then he winds up pulling over because he notices that they're being tailed by a car, and in the car winds up being this like bartender boyfriend guy, and the bodyguard is telling him that it's over, that he has to step away, that he never mattered to her, he was just being played, blah blah blah. And he gets in the, he fucks him up, he like beats him up, gets in the car, and the wife is like, did you take care of it? And he said yeah. And then you just see a shot being fired, and this guy who's like the driver bodyguard guy gets killed instantly. He gets shot actually no, he doesn't get killed instantly. He gets shot like in the chest and the arm or something, and like blood splatters like all over, and the lady's screaming, and there's blood on her face. And then like the little infant baby is like there, like in the car seat, and then it pans out to outside, and the boyfriend, the bartender guy, he's like stumbling towards the car. He looks at her and like shoots her in the head and kills her, and her blood splatters all over the baby. And he doesn't kill the baby or anything like that. It's such a like surprisingly traumatic scene that you didn't see coming, because she was a big part of the show. Even the driver guy was a big part of the show, because he was like did a lot of the dirty work for the couple, and it was nuts. And then long story short, the kid goes into like not witness protection, to like a foster home and stuff like that. And then the FBI winds up using that against the dead wife and the baby being in a foster home against Tyrell Wellick, which is the guy that used to work for E Corp and then joined the hacker side to try to get information from him about like the hacker side and stuff like that. It's fucking nuts. But that was a pretty sick scene, and it was a dope season, man. Definitely check it out. It's called Mr. Robot. Again, season 3 is available on Amazon. I believe season 4 or maybe even season 5 is available like on where they give the show, which I believe is USA.